seconds. If red lights are on in a studio or anywhere else, they say Diddy was having sex and some of his partners were underage.
They're scared of the admissions and other statements that are in those handwritten notes.
The judge ordered that prosecutors destroy all copies of his handwritten notes and all of the information gathered.
Diddy's attorney was seen being scared in the courtroom as the judge reportedly revealed new evidence, shaking the defense team's confidence in a high-stakes legal battle. Diddy's attorney expressed deep concern that the seized handwritten notes from his jail cell could reveal sensitive defense strategies. In response, the legal team filed a motion requesting that these notes be excluded from evidence, arguing that their seizure violated attorney-client privilege.
Diddy's lawyers showed up to federal court yesterday and they argued that Diddy's handwritten notes from his prison cell by the feds should be suppressed. They're scared of the admissions and other statements that are in those handwritten notes. You'll remember that federal agents took these handwritten notes allegedly as part of a prison-wide sweep for illegal substances and electronics. Now, suppress means that Diddy's lawyers want these handwritten notes and the admissions and statements contained therein excluded, not included in evidence for Diddy's May 5th, 2025 trial. Diddy's lawyers also argued to Judge Subramanian that the case against Diddy should be entirely thrown out. They're arguing that 11 pages of these 19 pages of notes seized by the feds contain information and communications directly to Diddy's lawyers. Now, Diddy's lawyers argue that the feds taking these handwritten notes without notice, without a warrant, is so egregious that the entire case against Diddy should be thrown out, or at the very least, the prosecutors that did this should be fired. Now, the big discussion at yesterday's hearing was Diddy's to-do list. Yeah, who knew? Music star billionaires also have to-do lists, but what was on Diddy's to-do list was not like what you and I might have, like buy more baby oil. No, his to-do list items were a bit more sinister, and I'll get into that in a minute.
During a recent court hearing, it was revealed that authorities had conducted a search of Diddy's jail cell, uncovering handwritten notes and other materials. Diddy's legal team argued that these items were protected under attorney-client privilege and should not be admitted as evidence. The presiding judge concurred, ordering prosecutors to destroy all copies of the seized notes after submitting one copy to the court for record-keeping purposes. This decision underscores the importance of safeguarding privileged communications between defendants and their attorneys, ensuring a fair trial process.
Last week, the federal prosecutors told the judge in this case that a sweep of Diddy's cell rewarded them with a treasure trove of notes and information that they allege revealed criminal wrongdoing while locked up, talking about paying off witnesses, silencing victims, etc. His lawyers argue that that was privileged information, attorney-client privilege. And the judge said today that he will not take into consideration any of the notes or information gathered from that cell sweep. Another win for Diddy is the judge ordered that prosecutors destroy all copies of his handwritten notes and all of the information gathered from the cell sweep. However, the judge says that the originals should stay with him in the court, and he will at a later date determine whether it will be admissible or not in court. Remember, the hearing today happened after his lawyers yesterday requested this emergency hearing.
The purpose of demanding copies of these videos is to establish a protective framework against their misuse. By ordering the submission of one copy to the court, the judge aims to ensure accountability while safeguarding the integrity of the evidence, preventing any unfair advantage in the ongoing legal proceedings.
The reason the defense wants these electronically produced, the reason they want copies of these in their possession, why they want these videos for them to review and analyze, and why they need the court to step in, is because under the protective order in this case regarding how evidence will be viewed and disseminated, the video evidence is available for inspection only. And according to the defense, federal prosecutors refused to produce that over to them, and obviously that is not an advantage to the defense. They want to be able to review this at their own time and when they want. But this is even more important. Combs' lawyers argue that we need these videos because they prove our client didn't commit the crimes he's charged with. In their letter, they write, quote, "Having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Mr. Combs' innocence and that their full exculpatory value cannot be investigated and used unless they are electronically produced. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called off tapes with victim 1 that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called offs were private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Like many Americans in the privacy of their own bedrooms, they sometimes filmed their activity. These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim 1 not only consented, but thoroughly herself." And we believe, by the way, victim 1 to be Cassandra Ventura. This is Diddy's ex, who first filed that initial assault lawsuit against Combs.
The new evidence brought to light in the documentary about Diddy on Peacock has sparked significant discussion. In the documentary, Diddy's former bodyguard claims that Diddy's mother used to host extravagant parties in his childhood home. These revelations add a layer of intrigue to Diddy's past, as the bodyguard alleges that these gatherings may have shaped aspects of his personal and professional life. While the claims are yet to be substantiated, they have ignited conversations about how Diddy's upbringing could have influenced his path to success and the challenges he currently faces.
Some pretty raunchy claims about Diddy are leaking out of his inner circle while he's locked up. So says a new documentary called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy on the Peacock Network. Here are some of the new claims. If red lights are on in a studio or anywhere else, they say Diddy was having and some of his partners were underage. These are the claims. Also, a former bodyguard claims that Diddy threatened to pimp out female musicians. And his oldest friend says that Diddy's mom, Janice Combs, hosted parties in his childhood home, complete with alcohol and drugs.
Diddy's attorney has addressed concerns about the tapes allegedly linked to him, claiming they are irrelevant to the current case. The attorney firmly stated that the tapes, regardless of their content or context, have no bearing on the legal matters at hand. This dismissal suggests that the defense views these recordings as an unnecessary distraction meant to sensationalize the case rather than contribute meaningful evidence.
We have appealed the initial failed decision to the Second Circuit, and we're going to keep trying to get him out in every way that's available to us.
How do you feel about the superseding indictment?
I only know what's happened, and that hasn't happened.
What's your argument to exclude the video from the hotel room from the evidence?
So I'm most respectfully, watch yourself. Not going to get into that. We put that in our court papers that we filed yesterday, and I'm not going to elaborate on it.
What do you make of the Justin Bieber comments and the people who are shopping around this tape in Hollywood, apparently? Are you concerned about that?
Not at all.
Why?
It has nothing to do with the case.
Well, there's someone apparently on this video who says that they were involved in the freak-offs and it's being shopped around Hollywood. Have you heard anything?
I have my hands full with the discovery, and I'm not really paying attention to all that other stuff.
Some folks expected that there could be that he could be bailed. Why isn't there a request for him to be bailed?
So I'm not going to talk about anything that I haven't said in court or in the papers. These are all great questions, but I'm just not going to get into it. So
can you speak about your concerns about the leak in the video? You have spoken about that.
I did it in the court papers, and I'm just going to stick to the court papers.
In a recent statement, Diddy's lawyer outright rejected the significance of the tapes, portraying them as ordinary recordings made by individuals who were fully consensual participants. The lawyer elaborated that it is not unusual for people to document shared moments, arguing that the recordings were made in a personal capacity and hold no legal relevance. This argument attempts to shift the focus away from the tapes, framing them as private consensual activities unrelated to the allegations.
In a newly filed motion, the disgraced music mogul's lawyer asserts that the infamous off tapes prove his innocence because they show 2 consenting adults, and actually the number is important, and I'll get to that in a second, but Because the other participant was, according to his attorney, enjoying herself, he couldn't possibly be guilty. He argues, quote, contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called f***offs were private activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Cassie is not named in this latest motion. She is just referred to as Victim 1. And yes, she dated him on and off, but mostly on for over a decade. And his attorney is adamant that she can't be a victim because she, quote, not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself.
Recently, a new lawyer joined Diddy's legal team, taking an unconventional approach by arranging for Diddy's entire family to meet with the judge. The lawyer believed this gesture would foster goodwill and help humanize Diddy in the eyes of the court.
Introduce the family to the judge while making appearances.
Oh, I do that on I do that on every single case that I appear on, and have done that for the last 40 years.
Why do you think it's important?
Because it's important for the court to know that the defendant has the support of his family, and that's something that the court would want to see, and would want to know that the family's there.
And who was there? It was all 6 of his children?
6 children were there. I think he has 7.
And how do you feel about joining this team?
Another case. You know, it's another case, another part of the journey, and you know, the goal is to do the best you can.
Understood. And so, the gag order, though, does that only apply to, it sounded like non-public, though?
Yeah, yeah, really. But then, you know, you always got to be careful. I mean, you can't go into court and ask for a gag order and then come outside the courthouse and start running your mouth.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work that way. So, I think that at the end of the day, the gag order is best for everyone.
The judge dismissed a request made by Diddy's legal team, which alleged that prosecutors and government officials had leaked sensitive information. This included claims that they spied on Diddy and released a video of him and Cassie in a hotel to CNN.
The judge in Diddy's criminal case has rejected his request for an evidentiary hearing about supposed government leaks and prosecutors spying on him. Judge says there's no indication that prosecutors or federal agents are the ones who actually leaked the video of him assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway to CNN. And the judge's order says that Diddy's lawyers really never provided any evidence that federal agents are the ones who leaked this video. And he said that prosecutors actually provided some information that he reviewed privately that he said presents compelling evidence that CNN's source was not, in fact, the government. CNN published the video in May, and it really got a lot of attention. And remember, Cassie is identified in Diddy's criminal indictment as victim 1, and the assault at the hotel is also mentioned in his criminal indictment. So lawyers were really hoping that they could get somewhere with this. Government agents are spying on Diddy. They've leaked all this information. They were really hoping for some kind of evidentiary hearing and hoping that it could actually lead to the dismissal of his indictment. I think that was always unlikely, but the judge really shut the door on that today. Diddy has also given up on getting out of jail pre-trial. He has a trial scheduled in May, and he's tried 3 times now to get out on bail. But his lawyers just filed something with the Second Circuit last week saying they are not going to appeal this last rejection. So that's pretty much it for that. Diddy's going to be in court later this week. Prosecutors filed this today saying that they hope to have discovery complete by December 31st. So they're making progress, but remember, there is still a pending grand jury investigation. So there could be another indictment here.
A woman has come forward claiming she was only 10 years old when Diddy invited her to one of his parties. In a heartbreaking account, she shared her story of alleged victimization, which has added another disturbing layer to the ongoing controversies surrounding him.
I was like, I want to get out the car. He slammed the door and then he got in the car. And I remember being out of there. And I remember them putting me on the jet and them saying, damn, this little heavy. I remember him being like, wake up, wake up. I remember waking up. I remember my ear popping. And I remember my stomach dropping on the airplane.
So it was a private jet that they put you on?
Mm-hmm. It was just us. I'm calling it airplane. That's what I called it back then, but it was a jet. I remember getting there to the studio, I'm out of there asleep on the couch. I remember Asian man or a Chinese man being there, and he was all like, you did this to my son. I'm going to the police. Like, you did this to my son. He's in the hospital. And he was all like, if I was you, I wouldn't say nothing or whatever. You're going to end up dead. And like, the man looked terrified when he said that. You know, I don't give about you going to the police. And I'm going in and out. I remember looking on the pool table, and there was a lady getting on the table. I thought she was Mexican, but she was the Arabian. That Arabian lady that was Miss Gloria Alvarez. I saw her getting on the table, but I was like I was conscious, but I was coherent, but I couldn't move. And then I remember it being like, I'm thirsty.
A separate victim has filed a lawsuit against Diddy and Jay-Z, alleging involvement in misconduct. Jay-Z himself, not through his legal team, responded immediately to the accusations, firmly denying their validity and calling the claims false.
So Jay-Z and Diddy have both been accused of a 13-year-old girl back in the year 2000 in a new civil lawsuit by Tony Busby. We've all been waiting to see what celebrity was going to be named next in these types of allegations with Diddy, and apparently it's Jay-Z. So the alleged assault happened right after the VMAs at a private party that was thrown at one of Diddy's houses. 13-year-old girl was invited there by Diddy, allegedly, and when she got there, Jay-Z took the first turn on her, and then Diddy took a turn on her. And Jay-Z has responded by saying, these allegations are so heinous in nature, I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. I'm not saying that he's guilty because I don't know enough about the situation at all whatsoever to make that assessment yet. All I know is that he was hanging out with Diddy while Diddy was doing the Diddy activities, and birds of a feather flock together, homie. There's no way that you didn't know what your old boy was up to. You was still riding out with him like he wasn't on that foul work, and you never reported him, so as far as I'm concerned, it's a
In an exclusive interview on CNN, a man concealed his identity while recounting his traumatic experience. He described the harrowing event, stating, I was screaming, and it was incredibly painful. His account sheds light on yet another angle of the allegations.
According to your lawsuit, at some point later in the night, Sean Combs himself offered you a drink. This didn't come from staff or someone holding a tray of drinks, it came from him directly.
Correct. The first drink started to have some effect on me, and I just thought, wow, these are really strong drinks. It wasn't until the second drink, and it was already too late, that I realized that there was something wrong with the drinks. Sadly, Sean Combs was waiting in the wings. He was watching from some sort of vantage point, and once I was in a helpless position and he was sure that he was in a position of power, then he took advantage of the situation.
You allege that you were forcibly pushed into an SUV by Sean Combs. That act alone, according to your lawsuit, left you in considerable pain. And then once inside the vehicle, your lawsuit says plaintiff was held down by Combs, who overpowered him while he struggled to escape due to the effects of the drugs in his system. And it goes on to say that he sodomized you.
I was screaming. I was telling him to stop.
Furthermore, on January 22nd, 2025, Ashley Parham, who filed a lawsuit against Diddy in October, shared alarming new details in an interview with Ashley Banfield on News Nation. Her revelations have further intensified scrutiny on Diddy's past actions and the mounting legal cases against him.
One thing that really stands out that she says is that at one point Diddy had a knife inside her mouth and then says, I'm going to give you a Glasgow smile, which is, you know, slitting someone's cheeks. But he's warned against it by a member of his team, saying Diddy's associates would prefer it if she, referring to Ashley, looked normal. She also says that they said to her they could ship her off and sell her to anyone in the world and she'd never be seen again by her parents or loved ones. Now, Ashley did make a police report in 2018 at the time of the alleged incident, and the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department confirmed her report was thoroughly investigated and it was determined the claims were unfounded. Diddy's team said Mr. Combs was nowhere near Orinda, California on the day that she claimed she was assaulted. There's no evidence that Mr. Combs was ever even in the same room as the alleged victim. She's completely unbelievable, and no sane person who views the evidence will credit her story.
An attorney working on the case has revealed that certain individuals are reportedly attempting to purchase the controversial tapes linked to Diddy. The suspected goal of these purchases is to destroy the evidence, thereby preventing it from being used against him in court. This revelation has raised further concerns about potential tampering and obstruction of justice in the ongoing legal proceedings.
I mean, what are you hearing tonight?
I actually received the New York Post article from the person who contacted me to sell the tape. They sent me that article. I was not shocked by what I read in the article. I was hoping that even the client that I contacted would reach out and see and kind of alert that person that this was going on and to possibly help them. The person who has the tape really doesn't want to shop it around. They really want to help and give it to wanted to directly sell it to that person, but it seems as if they are going elsewhere. I really do feel bad about the person. Part of the reason that I did come and say something outside of just to protect my own safety, but I wanted to sound the alarm, essentially, bring the dog whistle, if you will, to that person that maybe they should do something about this before it came out. If I was them, I would do something about this, and the only way to do anything is to do the catch and kill. That's the only way to ensure that it doesn't come out. You know, we're taught that God helps those who help themselves. So if we have a situation where that person does have the opportunity to purchase the video, if I were them, I would absolutely purchase the video.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.